industry professionals, my name is Matt Richards with BZBGEAR. I'm one of the videographers and marketing leads with the company, and today we're going to be talking about one key thing, and we're putting on a little bit of a webinar for you guys, and that's going to be Dante AV or NDI and why. So let's go ahead and roll right into this presentation. So what are some common things that you're seeing with these images on your screen? It's something that we had to think about a lot in terms of broadcasting. But there's one really time-consuming and big effort piece that has to happen for every production before it actually happens. And it's a lot smaller than you might think, but we're talking cables. So typically you're going to have SDI cables, power cables, Ethernet cables, just you name it. There are tons of cables out there, including serial for your control and a bunch of other things. So this is why you should consider either NDI or Dante AV/Dante AVH. And that's because networked video is quickly evolving the video space. There's several great benefits to going with networked video. We're going to tackle those throughout the course of this webinar, but one of the biggest reasons is it just simply cuts down on all of the cables that you need because it's only one cable. You just need your Ethernet, because most times it's going to provide power through PoE, and it's also going to handle everything else, including control and video and audio signal. So let's keep this moving. So if both enable networked video, then you would think one has to be better, right? That's not quite how this goes. It's not quite that simple. They both go about accomplishing a very similar goal, but different ways. So one might actually be a better fit depending on the environment that you're using it in, as opposed to the other. So we're going to go ahead and explore both, how they work and why you might consider one or the other. So we'll be using this webinar as a way to explore the two technologies and why you might use one over the other. Let's go ahead and start with Dante AV. First of all, we're just going to cover what Dante stands for. It's Digital Audio Network through Ethernet. And mostly, a lot of people know Dante because it's specialized in audio. So a lot of houses of worship, large auditoriums that might need a robust sound system, they know Dante because of that. However, they have developed their own video delivery system, and they're quickly becoming a rapid competitor in the space of networked audio and video. First and foremost, let's cover what Dante does. It's 8 channels of audio. However, it doesn't just offer 8 channels of audio, point-to-point and multi-point audio. It also offers 8 channels of point-to-point video. And thanks to Dante Controller, you can either run all 8 streams of both audio and video as separate and routable feeds, or you can unify them, which allows you to control all sources from Dante Controller on one screen. Pretty slick, actually. It's a great system. We've had the pleasure of having Dante kind of team up with us and show it off, especially at our booths. So we'll go ahead and continue talking about what Dante does and what it does really well. Routing and control. So independent sources, because sources can be independent streams, both audio and video routing is made very simple and easy. Again, all of that is really handled through the Dante Controller app on your computer. It's super simple. It's not quite as easy to use as NDI tools, but we'll cover that in a minute. Second thing that it does really awesome is automatic discovery. Thanks to automatic discovery, routing is as easy as literally clicking one button in Dante Controller. So because networked video, it's a super special thing. So because it's all networked and it's all going through Dante Controller, any Dante device that's going through the network is going to be automatically picked up by Dante Controller. You don't have to go searching. There's no manually discovering with Dante or NDI. Also, it gives you flexible options. So one of the things that you can do with Dante Controller is you can actually eliminate the need for matrix switchers completely. You can handle all of that through Dante Controller. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. We're going to talk about the network clock. So this is what really separates Dante from NDI and other options out there. All aspects of Dante are aligned with a network clock. What that means is that all endpoints will have perfect synchronization. That's because it's using either NTP or SNTP. NTP is network time protocol, and SNTP is just simple network protocol, simple network time protocol, excuse me. These protocols, they basically keep device clocks synchronized, meaning that all sources, and whether it's audio or video, all of them are going to be synced as soon as they reach the endpoint. So basically what it's saying is, hey, this video was sent at 11:59:11. This audio was sent at 11:59:11, blah, blah, blah. You can break it down into milliseconds, but it's basically just saying, hey, these two need to be airing at the same time. So we'll keep moving here. What else does Dante offer? Well, output quality. So Dante AV gives a very high image quality up to YUV444. It includes low latency with 100% audio and visual synchronization. And that's possible because Dante uses JPEG 2000, which is an image coding system that uses special compression techniques, but more importantly, because of that network time clock. That's super important when it comes to talking about Dante and the synchronization that is going on with it. You also have Dante AVH. So Dante AVH is more of the space that we're involved in, and that's going to be a new software solution designed to allow OEMs like ourselves or other manufacturers to incorporate Dante control into our existing H.264 based IP video product designs. So you're going to already see this with the Adamo. Basically all this means is instead of using JPEG 2000 or anything, we're just using H.264 and 265 in order to send video over the Dante network. Both of these things, they really offer the same features, just differing on the codec. There's a little bit more to it, but I'm not going to get into that today. Just know that when you're looking at Dante AV or Dante AVH, they both are going to mesh well together, and whether you have Dante AV items on your system and you incorporate something with Dante AVH, it'll all work on the same system. So let's talk about two other main benefits that Dante AV has. The first one is going to be local settings. So all the settings on Dante AV are stored on the device, meaning if you have an unforeseen power cycle, so like power goes out, I've had that happen in a church while we were running service, whatever settings you had, they're still going to be there when you come back. So that's an awesome feature. The other thing is going to be HDCP compliance. So basically all that means is your content is protected. So really awesome thing to have along with Dante. But let's go ahead and move on to NDI. So what about NDI? What makes NDI special? NDI stands for Network Device Interface, and unlike Dante AV, NDI is almost entirely software-based. It's not necessarily hardware-based, but they're changing that a little bit. We'll talk about it here in a second. On one hand, this means that the utilization of it is easier and ultimately cheaper, but it also means that things like synchronization aren't nearly as good as Dante. It's still great, don't get me wrong, but Dante does have an edge in that case. And on top of that, you are relinquishing a little bit more control that Dante gives, simply because Dante has a lot more hardware-based things that you can tweak. It also has a very robust free tool suite available that includes a lot of benefits. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that here in the next few slides, but let's talk about a few other benefits that NDI might have. So number one, again, similar to Dante, automatic discovery of NDI devices on the network. It's very plug and play. You also get the ability to choose software only, and this is kind of what I was talking about with, it's not really entirely software based anymore, but you have the ability to choose between software only or hardware enhanced products. So we're going to get to that. But one of the big things is it's highly efficient, low bandwidth cost associated with it, and it opens many doors for extra tools, and the software is free, which is a big plus. But you're getting a lot of interoperability with a growing ecosystem of products from several manufacturers. So let's go ahead and talk about NDI tools. We are currently on NDI 5.5. There's a lot of really cool things. One of the biggest things that I like to talk about, NDI Bridge and NDI Audio Direct. Those are the two big ones, but you also get NDI Router, Studio Monitor, Screen Capture, just a whole bunch of other apps. It also has something really cool, and that's going to be plugins that go directly to like After Effects or Premiere Pro. So if you're recording something and you just want to pull it directly into Premiere Pro right away, you have the ability to do that. That's a really, really unique thing that NDI Tools has. And I haven't personally used it, but I know it's something that you might consider depending on your use case for networked video. What this means is you have a wide range of tools going from the most basic to the super in-depth and complex, allowing you to tailor your software utilization to your experience level. So what I mean by that is NDI goes through a lot of lengths to try and simplify the process for the users because they know not everybody's a power user. So whether you are, for example, a house of worship and you have a bunch of volunteers that you need to get up to speed, NDI is going to be a little bit easier to navigate. We talked about this a little bit on Dante's end. Dante Controller, it's a fantastic software, and the Audinate guys have done a really great job of putting out a lot of content to help train you on their software. But in terms of which one has a little bit more of a user-friendly interface, it's definitely going to be NDI. So NDI allows you to kind of be as basic as you want or as advanced as you want with the software. That's one of the greatest things about it being free software that always gets updated constantly, and there's several different apps that you can use. All right, so bridging the LAN with the WAN. So if you don't know what LAN is, it's just local area network. So for example, in the studio, anything that I have set up on the studio, that's going to be the LAN. It's hardwired in on the same building. Anything that I connect to that is outside of this building, so like if I connect to a server that's in, let's say, San Antonio, that's going to be the WAN, the wide area network. So what is NDI Bridge? What does it allow you to do? It allows you to expand what is normally a LAN feature, so networked AV, into a WAN feature. This allows remoting into the LAN that the NDI devices are set up on, and you can run entire productions remotely. This quite literally enables users to securely share NDI sources between remote sites, run remote productions, maybe have a sports cast outside of the facility that the sport is happening at. Several new doors are opened with this. It's a fantastic software. It's really cool. You get the ability to manage alpha channels, KVM, PTZs, tally lights, metadata, so much more. We could talk about this all day, but just know that's a huge benefit that NDI gives. Let's keep this moving. So what about audio? We already know that Dante kind of lives a lot more in the realm of audio. So does NDI offer the same feature set? With the advent of NDI 5.5, any audio device that you can connect with software pretty much can be an NDI networked audio device. So Audio Direct is essentially it's a set of plugins that allows for NDI users to utilize just about any audio software on NDI. This includes allowing remote teams to take control of these audio sources, and just a brief look at the multiple setups it can support. It has 16 mono channels, 8 stereo channels, 4 quad channels, and there's a whole lot more. This is a fantastic tool, and it's really kind of establishing NDI a little bit more in the market, kind of shoring up some of the weaknesses it used to have. But what else does NDI offer? So this is a really big one, and this is a really cool feature to me, is NDI HX Camera. So what this is, it's an app for download for iOS devices, and I'm not sure if it's Android as well. I'll look that up and I'll include it here in the webinar. But what this means is you can take your phones or tablets and turn them into a mobile camera for your productions. So as long as your camera happens to be on the same network, or excuse me, not camera, your phone, you can open up this app and you can move around whatever you're shooting, whether that's sports, whether you're in a studio and you just want a more mobile camera on the fly, or if you're doing a house of worship, it's automatically recognized by your NDI systems and it takes advantage of NDI HX. So this is a fantastic tool available to pretty much everyone. Unfortunately, this one is not free. It does cost money, but it's a very small investment. I believe it's only 20 bucks. So really fantastic option. So this is where we get into where NDI is kind of going in the future. So now NDI is offering the ability to choose. What that means is you have NDI SDK and NDI Advanced. So what's NDI SDK? NDI SDK is the all software based version of NDI that most people know. It's great because it's easy to get. It's very easy to to become part of the ecosystem, but it also isn't as great because since it's software-based, there are some limitations. It does mean that some cameras may not be as good as other cameras when it comes to NDI performance. But NDI kind of recognized that, and so they said, hey, what if we take our formula and what if we advance it a little bit, give people another option? That's where NDI Advanced comes in. NDI Advanced, it's essentially the fusion of their hardware. It's the fusion of hardware with NDI software. That's as basic as I can get it. And what that means is NDI is essentially offering a certification process. This ensures that devices are able to meet needs of more advanced users. So this is where it opens some more doors, and you get things like the ability to send NDI HX3 signals, custom technical support, custom memory allocators, all of the great stuff. So that's where NDI is going in the future. We're already kind of getting there because NDI HX3 is a thing. We have an HX3 camera, and it's awesome. We'll actually just touch on NDI HX3 here in a minute. Let's go ahead and talk about routing and control. For control, you have the ability to control NDI devices on the network through the NDI tools. This extends to bringing in NDI sources into programs like Premiere Pro, like we talked about a little bit earlier. You don't even need to be in the same facility. Thanks to NDI Bridge. So even if you want to have PTZ control, let's say you're in Florida and your production is in California, you can do that with NDI Bridge. It also offers automatic discovery. So just like Dante AV, NDI supports automatic discovery of NDI devices on the network, which makes your connection and routing as easy as possible. And finally, we'll wrap it up with video quality in terms of NDI. So I have a little bit of a graphic there. That's going to show you the difference between NDI high bandwidth and NDI HX3 as far as quality is concerned. But I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit. This basically comes down to the difference between NDI high bandwidth and NDI HX. When it comes to high bandwidth, all you need is a high bandwidth camera or an NDI encoder. So you can buy NDI encoders from other vendors. We don't have any at the moment. But what that allows you to do is plug, let's say, a DSLR into the encoder, into the network, and your DSLR is now an NDI camera. So it's going to run on NDI's Speed H2 codec. This targets 130 megabits per second at 1080p 60 and about 250 megabits per second at 4K 60. NDI describes this as a very low latency and almost lossless quality. It is very, very good. So this is going to be for people that have very robust networks, like large productions, things where you might have a little bit more stationary cameras, and by stationary I mean like cinema cameras, etc. Not necessarily PTZ cameras. You can get high bandwidth PTZ cameras. They're just going to be a lot more expensive and not nearly as economical to run both bandwidth-wise and price-wise. So that brings us to NDI HX. HX3 is their newest version. I'm not going to cover HX2, but basically this is just their H.264 and 265 version of NDI. This targets about 60 megabits per second at 1080p 60 and 110 megabits per second at 2160p 60. So that's 4K 60. It's very similar latency to high bandwidth, and it keeps it to an almost lossless video quality. What I mean by that is really what they're going for with HX is just no visible compression artifacts in this case. And like I touched on a little bit earlier, HX3 is going to have to go through a certification process. So it's not available for older cameras. Cameras need to be sent into NDI, and they need to be verified by NDI. So NDI or Dante AV. They're both different. They offer very similar, a similar solution, but in different ways. So it's going to really be up to what your client needs or what your individual needs are in terms of which one you want to go with. Like I said earlier, I would kind of lean NDI for maybe more mobile or more spread out productions, things that might not already be involved in the networked AV, but if you need something that's going to be very, very accurate with synchronization, if you need something that already works with your audio solutions that you have in Dante, Dante AV is a fantastic solution. You can't go wrong with either. They're both great products. You just need to decide which one fits your use case. So if you have any more questions regarding some of our products or anything that we talked about today, I highly recommend that you get in contact with us. You can talk to our sales team. You can either talk to Chris Graham, he's our Director of Sales and Eastern US and International Business Developer. You can talk to Ilbron, who is our VP of Global Sales. Or you can talk to Matthew Allison, who is our Western US and International Business Development Manager. So any of those three are great options. But if you need support or just general information, highly recommend that you contact us at info@bzbgear.com or support@bzbgear.com. We also have socials. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. So go ahead and type in BZB Gear into those search boxes. And we really appreciate you guys tuning in to this webinar. And we'll see you guys next time for a new webinar. So that's going to wrap it up for our presentation today on Dante AV and NDI. If you have any more questions, excuse me, if you have any more questions, I would highly recommend that you get in contact with one of the fantastic gentlemen on our sales team. That'll be Chris Graham, our Director of Sales in Eastern US and International Business Developer. He is going to handle, like his title says, anything on Eastern US or international. You also have, excuse me, you also have Ilbron. He is our VP of Global Sales. If you're international, he's a great guy to talk to. You also have Matthew Allison, who is our Western US and International Business Developer. If you're on the West Coast or on just the west side of the United States, you need to get in contact with him. He's a great guy. He'll get you squared away. He has a lot of experience with this stuff.